Alright guys, so I am back with another video as promised for this Minnesota and New Orleans Saints game. So once again, definitely hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on the NFL playoffs and anything San Francisco 49ers. With that being said, let's go ahead and definitely get right into it. So this game came down to OT as well, and Minnesota pulled it off. So this was a crazy game, and this is another one of those changing of the guard games, like I said, because you have Drew Brees, who's 40, Kirk Cousins, who's in his mid-20s. You know, this is just another young dude taking out one of the older dudes. Like, this has just been happening all weekend, guys. So, two quick points. Minnesota was held scoreless in the fourth, and New Orleans was held scoreless in the third. The defenses were doing their thing and playing as hard as they possibly could. So Kirk Cousins, 19-31, 242 yards, 1 TD, and he took 2 sacks. Dalvin Cook, 28 carries, 94 yards, with 2 TDs. So this more so was necessarily about Dalvin Cook making sure that they were staying in the game. Adam Thielen had 7 catches for 129 yards. Cook even had 3 catches for 36 yards. And Kyle Rudolph has 4 catches, 31 yards, and 1 TD. The TD he caught was the game winner in overtime. So, I mean, it was a situation where we were looking at it from a stand, where I'm looking at it from a standpoint in the fourth quarter, where they tackled Dalvin Cook on a play, and the play happened so fast, you think New Orleans has scored, and they had 17 at that point. Nope. After review, Dalvin Cook's knee was down, so he's technically down by contact. New Orleans takes over. All they get is a field goal out of that. That makes it 2020 pretty much in the end. So then, you know, on defense for the Minnesota Vikings, Danielle Hunter, 1.5 sacks, Everson Griffin, 1.5 sacks. So obviously they combined for all 3 sacks that Drew Brees did take. But what's weird is Minnesota did not get Stefon Diggs going, and he was not happy about it. You saw him chuck his helmet on the sideline, so he was pretty pissed off because of the fact that they did not get him going. And what's really weird is that, you know, he started to get upset, but, you know, Kirk Cousins came over like, hey, I got you, man, and everything will be cool. And then next thing you know, they were fine. But Diggs really didn't have much, and that's why I don't have any stats for him, really, because he didn't do much of anything. But then when it comes down to it, and you look at everything from the game standpoint, Minnesota wound up humming. They were doing their thing, they were doing their job, and they made everything happen for themselves at the right time. In overtime, they won the coin toss. They decided to go ahead and receive, and the funny thing is they went right down the field. Now, the New Orleans Saints defense was balling up to the point of OT. They were doing everything that they could to go ahead and try to keep, you know, the Vikings at bay and give Drew Brees every chance that he could to continue to do it. But one thing was, the Vikings defense was relentless in their pursuit of Drew Brees. Those guys up front are nasty, man. So for my 49ers, that's one thing we're going to have to be very careful of. We are going to have to be very careful of this Vikings defense and what they bring to the, you know, what they bring to the table and how they come at us, man, because their defense has never been really a problem, and their offense isn't bad either. But the one thing about them is you have Kirk Cousins, and that's a guy you can't really trust. So this game gives them a chance to trust Mr. Cousins. It tells them, you know, that, hey, it's a beautiful thing when you have a guy who finally gets on his shit, finally says, hey, I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to make this happen. So let's flip to the other side of the ball. And then you have Drew Brees, wily veteran. Drew Brees, 26 of 33 yards, 208 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, but he took 3 sacks. And one of those strip sacks was Danielle Hunter coming off that edge and catching him slipping and giving him everything that he needed to get, because it was a situation where he was trying to throw the ball, but he didn't get his arm moving forward, and there you go. What happens? You get sacked, baby. You get that strip sack, and that's nothing that you know. It was something that he could have controlled. He could have just tucked it in and took the sack, but in that instance, he just didn't have a chance. So, with that being said, then you got the man of the game, and this guy I think is pretty much the future of the New Orleans Saints, Taysom Hill. Now, Hill decided that he was going to come in and just ball out as much as he possibly could. And that man had some great runs in that game. You saw him moving, and he just did everything he was supposed to do. So Taysom Hill, 1 out of 1 passing for 50 yards, 4 carries for 50 yards, 2 catches for 25 yards, and a TD. This dude was flat out balling. Mr. Hill, you get my Baller of the Year award when it comes to a game, because you did everything you were supposed to do. I can't even say that say nothing bad about you. Michael Thomas, 7 catches, 70 yards. Cook, 5 catches for 54 yards. And then on defense, they picked up Janoris Jenkins. I wondered where he had wound up going, and then sure enough, they pick him up, and Janoris Jenkins with Brown come in for it. They combine for a sack. Hendrick had a sack. Cam Jordan had a sack. And basically, long story short, people, at the end of the day, when you go to OT, you need somebody that's going to catch that ball and do what they're supposed to do. And sure enough, what happened? It was very unfortunate that it didn't work out that way. People, there's a little controversy. They're saying it's a push-off from Kyle Rudolph in the end zone. I looked at that play all the way through, man. They was jockeying for position. There was no push-off. These cats were just playing football. Kyle Rudolph won the battle, and it is what it is. So you got to go ahead and allow him to do what he need to do and be who he is. And y'all got to just play better defense. When y'all on the goal line, I'll never understand how you always wind up looking at the receiver. As a DB, if I'm on the goal line, I want to make sure I know where the receiver is. I want to be able to feel his presence, but I want to find the ball and either knock it down or intercept it. That is exactly what I want to do. I don't want anything else to do with trying to look at the receiver or not know where the ball is. I have my back to the quarterback, because then that gives him too much of an opportunity to make a play on me. So to me, that's just bad on Lattimore, because he wasn't in position to make a play. He didn't do the right things, and this is what happens. Kirk Cousins actually gets a win in a primetime game, which is extremely rare because he usually sucks in those. He sucks something off. I gave y'all the stats in my last video. I think he's like 9-13 or something, like 6-13 or something to that effect. It's actually ridiculous how bad he is in primetime games, especially Monday nighters. But hey, man, Kirk Cousins had no TDs all game, and in the one game he needed to, he had a touchdown, and he made it happen. So, hey, they coming to Santa Clara to get that ass handed to them. We got to worry about the Vikings defense. I'm not so worried too much about their offense. I mean, we have to be a little careful with Dalvin Cook, because that's a big bruising runner, and at the same time, we want to make sure we don't wind up getting him, going crazy, running all over us, hitting us up the middle and gashing, because he doesn't care. Dalvin Cook runs north, south, east, west. It don't matter for him. He just want to run and make sure that he gets a chance for you to feel him hit you. So watch this Seahawks and this Eagles game, even though it doesn't matter to us because we're playing the Vikings. We play the lowest seed, obviously, because we are the #1 seed, so we have a chance to play the weaker team. But I'm going to go watch this game, and I'll be back with a video for that. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all stay faithful. And once again, man, another changing of the guard. Kirk Cousins finally wins a big game. Now, rumor is from my boy that they trying to create another Packers-Chiefs Super Bowl. I say that's not going to happen. I'm telling you right now, we need to go ahead and get right and keep it the way we need to keep it. And there is nothing that tells me that Green Bay can beat us, or that even, the Minnesota Vikings can beat us of all teams. We got this, y'all. Stay 9 and faithful. Stay blessed. Have a good evening.